$145,582.
And I guess just looking at our needs and what you can use this money for, I would just think maybe we should think about it until the next meeting and decide if this is, do we give half of it? Do we have other needs that are pressing?
Have we got the information ahead of time that we can look at? Yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable voting on it right now.
On a daily basis almost.
Yeah,
So
we
a
may
lot
do
of
different things.
Grammar stuff, yeah, but
So,
not specific to this.
well, it has all the uses that are out there. So do I have anybody that wants to table that?
I would
Or
like to
you
make a motion to table it, just so that we can have time to look at our needs and figure out the best way to use this money. Not that I don't choose it this way, but.
Do I have a second?
Roll call. Bobby?
I think we should give it to them.
I do too.
So is that a no for the table?
Vote no.
Harold? Let's make, okay, then we'll make a motion to give it to them, but we gotta figure out how to do that,
Okay.
the taxes.
Well,
I mean, I'm not
let's
opposed to
finish. So
giving
we've
it to
got
them.
Yeah, she was just
Yes,
saying, we
so
just found out
what-
about it yesterday, let's look at it. So
Well,
I haven't had a chance to even.
This has been coming out since ARPA money's been out there. There's been information out
We
there.
understand that, Mayor.
So is that a no from Nathan and a no from Rhonda? Okay, so then do you want to put a new motion on the floor? Do you have an
Well,
option?
let's talk about how we would process that. Would you give the 3,000 and take the taxes out of that, or would you do it like?
If you
county?
use the
How would you also do it?
$145,582 was doing the same thing the county did, which paid the taxes. The $3,000 to the full-time employee paid the taxes on top of that.
I would
$500
suggest
to the part-time employee and taxes on top of that, so.
So it sounds like you,
That's one
based on what you're proposing, you've already made that decision, is that
No,
what you
no,
want?
I've
Is that
not
what
made
you're
that
saying?
decision. That's
Okay.
that I was following what the county did, so that was the number, $145,582.
I would suggest doing what Gilman County did. Their budget's more, they're more in line with what we're thinking with our needs. So maybe 3,000, and then that saves us some more money for other options. But 3,000, take the taxes out of that. That's what I would suggest. And that way, if we have that, we can start
Is there a suggestion or a motion?
But you guys make the motion.
And this would not, and this would have some Christmas bonus.
Yes.
It would not.
Yes.
They would not get a Christmas bonus on top of this. The other thing is they get their Christmas bonus before Thanksgiving, so this would allow them to go ahead and get this money.
Okay, see, we weren't, I wasn't told.
I wasn't told that either, so, you know, all this information
They
is
always
pertinent.
get their
No.
Christmas
But
bonus
always,
before
you need to
Thanksgiving.
clarify that, so
No,
we know.
No, what I was saying there was, I didn't realize that they would not be getting their Christmas bonus.
I mean,
This would be
you can
included.
give them
I
their
didn't
Christmas
know.
Yeah, I
bonus if
didn't know
you
that.
want
That
to,
changes
but
it as well.
they were interested, well, it's 100 or 200, how much is Christmas bonus, Becky, $200?
Depends on your years of service with the new policy.
How much?
She don't know.
It
She's assessing
depends
back.
on your years of service with the new policy, but I think it maxes out at 500.
Okay, so
That's
this would
nice.
definitely be,
This is more than
It
what they
definitely is an
normally
increase of what they
receive.
would get for a bonus.
yeah, that would be good. And also, I would want to make sure that it goes to every employee, including Johnny Cersei, everybody.
Well,
It have to be.
they have to be, he's on leave of absence, so it would be,
But he's still an employee.
well, the state followed the guidelines of the month of August of 2021.
But this is
Yeah, I
federal,
think it
this
needs to
is
be all
federal funding.
employees.
This is
Yeah, I
federal
agree with
funding.
her.
Yeah, so if we're gonna do it, it needs to go to him as well.
He's
Because
still
he-
an employee and he's still, still engaged.
And I think the biggest thing was this is help, is aimed towards the COVID relief. And he is, the victims of COVID should be
Absolutely.
definitely considered in that, so, yeah.
So do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, I make a motion, we give employees $3,000 and then we take taxes out of that amount. And this will be in lieu of Christmas bonuses, and that every employee, including Chief Cersei, is included.
Okay, so every employee, meaning your part-time employees too?
Part-time will receive the amount of 500.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Depot Street and Railroad Crossing storm drain improvements. Jeff, you want to talk about that or you want me to? We've both met with Carter Slip several times. You want to go ahead and go over some of it? The railroad crossing is, we were looking at trying to do this so that they can pick up the rail for us in January to March, sometime in there, right?
Yeah, that's time frame the railroad is shut down. So they're actually gonna take the railroad tracks up, let's replace that culvert and then move it back. Yes, you had a directional bore under there, or bore under the railroad track would be very expensive.
Have
Well,
we sent out
we have to have a
bids?
permit too.
No, this is for y'all to approve if we want to send it out for bids. We'll put it on procurement and all, just like.
Don't want to parallel with the railroad track.
No, it'll cross the railroad track, Ada Street cross, and end up right down between, Rhonda's property and
There's a
the Pack
drawing
property there.
here on the back.
It's collapsed.
It would be between Ada.
I think we have to decide, Mike, on that. When I was in the meetings, there are two options we can use. And one of them is gonna end up costing about $750 to $1 million, the other's gonna be about $2 million. So I think with the new council, when they come in, they'll have to make the decision on how to move forward with that as to these drains. And-
This is-
But this particular step, it has to be done regardless. So it will take care of the step, and then the new council will eventually make that decision on, which avenue to take on the other, so.
This is just getting it, the pipe under the railroad, basically, at this point, and taking
Yes.
care of what's on Ada Street water.
Yes.
And then the
that's right.
other piece is on Depot Street, taking care of the water
Taking
issue
care of this
there.
Depot Street and have the drawings in there for both of those.
And if I'm not mistaken, that is West Main and Depot that they were looking at, because they needed to trench and turn the water off of West Main too, because it comes up the road a little ways, right? Just on this West Main, or not West Main,
No, it
West Second, I'm
comes,
sorry.
it comes, off the school property up there, and it comes down to this section here between, what's his name?
I think they were gonna,
Stevenson and Birdwell, I think it is probably.
Yeah.
It parallel between their property and then come all the way down Depot Street to this intersection right here and then tie back into the original. Because right now it comes across Stevenson's property, right under his house there, or trailer. So it'd be taking all that out of his property and putting it back on the city right away. Because it floods the houses here, it rains.
So we're voting on,
putting it out for.
You're just approving that we put it out for bid and that we put it out for bid. We don't have no bids yet. So the price dictates us putting it out there and procurement to receive bids for this.
Okay, so do I have a motion to go ahead and put these two projects out on the we're gonna put on the procurement side too,
Yes,
right?
we have to, yes. The price, yes.
Yeah, I make a motion, we, put these out for procurement, put them on the list, and get bids for both projects.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? New hire to permanent, the evaluation, Jim Robinson has been a long-time employee, and he retired, but his knowledge is irreplaceable. So there are times that we have to bring him back in for consultations and things like that, so I would like to go ahead and put him back. I think he's only got 8 hours in the last 2 to 3 months, so it's just as need basis. So I'd like to ask that we go ahead and hire him back as needed. If we had a major water issue, Jim knows where everything's at, so he's very, very valuable to us. And we have 3 employees that are up for, they come off of their change to permanent hire. So that would be Lawrence Patrick Roberts, who would get a 50-cent raise, Morgan Morrow, who would get a 50-cent raise, and Parker Brown, who would get a 75-cent raise. And these are based on their supervisors' evaluations, those 3 are. You can make that in 2 different motions, or you can do it in one if you want to.
remember, we made the changes so that a retired employee can still draw their pension and come back and work for us.
Right. That'd be good.
Yeah, and I don't think he minds a few hours. I don't think he wants to be a 20-hour-a-week employee anymore.
He can do that. He
Yeah.
still, prior to us making that change, he could do that. for all the pension.
Yeah, we've just not formally hired him to sign off on the paperwork, so I need a formal rehire.
I can just, I'm gonna do this separate or? So I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion that we make the following employee approvals. Lauren Lawrence Patrick Roberts for the water distribution crew. Do I need to say the amounts or does it matter?
Go ahead and say the amount, so there's no
With
question.
a, recommend hiring as a permanent employee with 50-cent raise. Morgan Morrow, part-time water and part-time streets. Recommend hiring as a permanent employee with 50-cent raise. Parker Brown, meter reader, water department, overall, hiring as a permanent employee with a 75-cent raise. And then also Jim Robinson, Jim Robinson at a rate of $28.49 per hour. On an as-needed basis.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? All right, industrial park grinder.
So as you all know, we're currently rehabbing our sewer lift stations. We are doing away with a pump station at CBS, the 2 pump stations off of Astor Road. We're rerouting the sewer so that it doesn't come back toward like Winter, the old sewer plant, back down around Ada Street and up Industrial to the current plant. We're gonna pump everything through Industrial and right up Industrial Park Road to Windy Ridge, which is really taking a load off of the sewer distribution system. All 3 of the pump stations were taken out of service, were in need of rehab. We have a developer who wanted to tie into that industrial lift station, which is currently pretty near capacity at that station. And I spoke with James Weaver and we talked about installing a grinder at that lift station, and then we spoke with Matt Smith at Carter and Sloop. That's gonna reduce the load on that pump and make it more efficient so that it could handle that extra capacity. The grinder is something the city would have purchased in that upgrade. So if you're not familiar, grinders are gonna chew up all the wipes and things like that that people put in their sewer pipes they should not be putting in their sewer pipes. Once they get your pump, they wind up around the pump and they cause mechanical failure. Huge expense to the city, so we're currently installing grinders on any pump station that we have. And the developer was willing to 100% fund the purchase and installation and engineering of that grinder for that station in order to be able to connect to that station prior to its upgrade. And the original upgrade of that station was to handle the load of the other ones we're taking out of the system.
So the city was gonna do it, we were
We were
gonna
gonna do it
anyways.
regardless
Yeah.
of whether he tied on or not. But the engineering, installation, and parts for that service are $97,000. That includes a 10% contingency. The developer will pay half of that up front before the grinder is ordered. He'll pay another remaining 25% prior to construction start, and then we'll hold the remaining 25% until construction completion in an escrow account, and we'll refund him any portion back that is not used, but he'll pay a total of $97,000 in installments into the escrow account. So the city gets their grinder basically for free.
Right, yeah.
Do they have a time frame for this at this point,
For the grinder or for the development?
the grinder?
Yeah, Matt said probably take about 6 months
To get it or to install it, he said, just,
to get it completed. They're looking to actually connect sometime around 12 months, so that gives us a little leeway. The length of time is due to just everything is hard to get right now.
we're not limited to anybody else who can connect to that due to them paying the cost of the grinder or anything, correct? I mean, it's this, 100% of the city's.
So we wouldn't have done another connection in that area that would impact that grinder until the upgrade. Because we have,
But we're not obligated to them and them only, it's the city's essentially.
right, the city owns that,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, we will own it, and so we'll go through Carter and Sloop, they'll get a company to come in and install it, and that's 100% funded by the city.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the grinder?
I'll make a motion, we approve the grinder in the amount of $97,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Depot insulation, Go Green spray foam, they were having trouble, they're losing a lot of, heat out through their floor, and they've asked about having spray foam put in through the floor system. The quote was $35.70.75.
How does this play into our lease? What does the lease say?
Anything to do with the building is pretty much ours.
Pretty much, or is that exactly what the lease says?
You can have somebody pull the lease, but we've repaired everything that needs to be repaired down there over the years.
I kind of like to just look at the lease and make sure, and that may be something the council even wants to look at. I haven't seen any of the leases on our properties.
We can table this till next month, but,
I think it would be smart to look at the leases and just make sure we're complying with the lease agreements.
I think there used to be insulation under there. Didn't I say they were having trouble with animals tearing out some of that?
Not sure, was it upgraded when,
They didn't upgrade it with
when it's
they did inside, but they didn't do under the
I'll be
floor.
glad to review the leases. I'd like to table the Go Green spray foam insulation until next month.
Okay, do I have a second? All in favor? Muni code, final code shipment, I don't know why we put final in there, because you're always gonna be upgrading your muni code. Every time you've got several ordinances, you're gonna have to send it to them. But the last few ordinances, the last year and a half, is that about what you sent, Kelly? They sent back a cost estimate of $2,000, so.
So where is this now? Because I haven't seen it like on a website.
I think this is just waiting on this last, did you send that? Of new ordinances that need to be added.
Okay, we'll be able to like have a link on our website for that, and that will help all the,
We
so I was
have,
talking to the council.
you have a way to pull that now. We have copies of it, but I don't think it's on the website. It's several things that have to be added.
It'd be nice to be able for the public to access it.
Yeah, well, you can,
I know we've been working on it for almost 3.5 years, so, yeah, I haven't seen anything on it.
yeah. Okay,
That would be
do we have a
good.
motion to approve the new code update?
I'll make a motion, we approve the mini code update.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, and the Wellington, Kuiper Wellington Ford has been moved to this. Who do we have here represent, is everybody here?
Yes, Mayor. No, it's, my name is Chris Collins. I'm one of the attorneys for the developer, and then Will Ford is one of the partners of the developing company. We're both here.
Okay, if you want to come to the podium, I think we've got plans or something for us
We
to
do.
look at.
Yes.
for you. We also have some 3x4s that we can put up there, just so we can see everything. Two pages each, and that's just the overview thing, and this is the next set, also just 2 pages each. And this is the stamp survey and stamp site plan. Probably do one at a time, so I'll get it.
And we're looking at these, Jeff, has application been made at this point or not?
Application.
Have a formal application, was it made? I know last time you said no. Has it been made now? Is that application being submitted?
You talking about permit?
Yeah, for permanent.
No, the building permit has not been applied for.
Okay.
Verification succeeded. Please check temperature.
The water and sewer application has been,
Yeah, it's been made
it
now.
hasn't been approved.
Yes, correct. Did I give you 2 already?
That's what I got.
site plan for approval here. And then we get our understanding of our protocol for how we would proceed, that assuming that we're able to get the final site plan approved today, our next step is then to do a formal application for the building permits, having get all the prerequisites. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes.
Come on, Bobby, catch up.
What? This is it.
You're
First
the
time
best.
I've seen it.
And I'm sorry, would you repeat your name again?
Yeah, no problem. My name is Chris Collins. I'm an attorney, yes.
Collins?
Chris
What'd you say? It
Collins.
was first time.
Chris Collins.
First time I've seen the plan. Right.
So,
Sorry.
what I was fixing to ask for was the survey.
And we actually have some extras if anybody.
I would.
Yeah, I think everybody's, I think that's what everybody's.
Is this the first time this has been handed out public?
Yes, sir, it is.
These.
Is this the first time this has been handed out public? Simple question, yes or no?
Drawings have already been submitted.
These,
In
These
public.
were never
Mr.
submitted.
Whaley, these were the first ones submitted.
Okay, I saw
These are the
that.
first time these formal plans have
These
been
are the
handed out,
first,
yes.
okay, but this says finalized on the agenda. Is it
Correct.
finalize something you're seeing for the first time? My only question.
Well,
They're
Yes,
5
you're
stories.
correct.
this is the first time I've
See
seen
that handwritten drawing? I think
My mama's gonna be mad at me.
both are voters
I'm gonna have to
spoken on
say
this issue, and I'll wait till the next council.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's all over the internet, all over the sign. It's on the website.
There's been no final plan submitted till this now.
There's no building permits permitted yet. That's how they go about this process. Yes.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions, or do we need more time to review?
Mayor Widener, could y'all speak up? Your microphone, I don't know if you realize your microphones, we can't hear you back here.
Well,
They're not
can
working,
you hear me now?
I can now.
just a little bit. It's not working the way it normally does.
Since I'm,
Yeah. If y'all could just
Is there a
speak up just a
volume
little bit,
button?
it'd help.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Earlier I couldn't.
can you hear me?
There you go.
Hey!
Much better. Thank you.
Testing.
Much better.
Thank you, Donna.
How many units? How many?
56.
56.
So when did y'all purchase this property? We closed in either January or February of this year.
This year. And you closed based on the planning and zoning's recommendations
Yes.
and the unanimous vote, the council's unanimous vote that they did last February and March.
Correct. And we engaged in having these drawings paid for and produced by an architect based off the same vote.
And you may want to go up to the microphone so that it'll make it easier for her to
So
get.
your original presentation was based off of this,
Correct. We originally said 60 units.
and the planning and zoning board did their research, and they voted unanimous.
Correct.
For zoning,
For
for zoning only, yeah.
And then,
Sounds familiar. Based on 60 units.
and then, Ms. Nate made the motion.
No, actually, I made the motion.
You made the
Yes,
motion, Ms.
Ms.
Nate
Hayes seconded
seconded.
for zoning only,
And the council, for what?
for zoning only, to change it. It was only for zoning, it was the condition was for them to come back to us.
Based on final plan, according to the minutes.
According to the audio and everything, it was based on
Architecture
zoning.
drawings of what was there.
And I think the discrepancy comes in the fact that we entered into a moratorium on 60-foot buildings. And at that time, I believe you actually closed after the moratorium, is that correct? I believe you closed in March.
What was the date of the moratorium?
I'm not
I'll
sure
let
you
you know
did, Joe.
off the top of your head.
I think it was February the
So in fact, I'm pretty sure you did
It
close
was
after the
it was after the
moratorium.
moratorium.
You
That's
closed
correct,
after
it
the
was.
moratorium. So you were aware that there was a restriction in height.
We
That's
can
my
pull the date.
understanding.
Yeah, we can pull the date.
Yeah.
So
You did.
Well, okay, well, there may have been closing after the moratorium, but on March 10th, 2020, the property was rezoned, and from that date going forward until closing, and then even then, there have been significant amount of funds devoted to bringing this project to fruition.
So you realized that there was a moratorium, correct?
No, we were told that the moratorium, that we were grandfathered in the moratorium.
Who told you that?
So the council never voted on that.
So, well, let me try.
Yeah.
Let's handle this piecemeal so we don't end up talking over each other. Yes, when the moratorium was put into place, we heard about the moratorium. When the moratorium became known to us, we had discussions with the city attorney, James Valley, Jeff Stewart, the mayor. I also conducted independent research on Georgia law. And, you know, this is about as clean as I can make it. We are not in any interest of trying to throw all the assets or all of the resources that we have to force something down anybody's throats. But Georgia law is abundantly clear that when you are rezoned or zoned, one or the other, to the extent that you take substantial steps following that, which substantial steps were taken here, you are entitled to whatever it was within that ordinance. So here, the central business district, which I believe is what we were rezoned for, is a 60-foot building height requirement, or maximum. We are well below it, especially if you go by the flat angle, the flat area of the condominium units.
So you were well below it at the time, or no, it was a moratorium? Because that's two distinguishingly differences. So,
Well, it sounds like the moratorium was almost a year after.
no.
It wasn't. Let me ask you
No,
a question.
have y'all got a timeline of your dates? Do you know?
March 10th, 2020 is when we were.
Yeah, because I actually made the motion, and it was for the zoning. I know what it was for. It was for the zoning. We went back and had official transcripts of the audio and everything. It was for the zoning only.
You applied notice to
What was the date? 2020?
March 10th, 2020 was the date that the rezoning application was brought here and unanimously approved.
So when you talk about spending a lot of money on all these plans, and we didn't have the plans at the last meeting, when did you actually reach out to your engineer to do these plans? Was it after the moratorium?
No.
So you had them
It was-
before?
it was-
So why
Well, we
didn't, so
haven't given a
why
copy
were,
of it before.
yeah, I guess why didn't you
now.
present them at the zoning instead of these hand sketches?
Yeah.
I guess that would be my question.
Then it would have been
is-
approved then, and you would not have had to come back. There would have been conditions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you would have had them, why didn't you give them to us?
Yeah, so,
Because a hand sketch is, in my opinion, not a lot of money thrown out at a project. Now, after, you did your hand sketches, it was approved for rezoning, we put the moratorium in place, and then you went and spent that money. The sequence of events just doesn't make sense for you to go spend that much money when you know there's a moratorium.
no, the development of the plans was launched the moment that the rezoning application.
Then why were they presented as a question? You still have
I
that.
just said they were launched the moment the rezoning application was approved.
At the moment,
I mean, that's not atypical of these types of developments. You first want to make sure that, yes, it can be rezoned before you do anything else. Also, it is a far cry to say that somehow we hit the ball when really, other than the fact that it's now an official schematic and design, that nothing has changed from the hand sketches, whether we want to ridicule hand sketches or not, nothing has changed. The building heights are the same, the building size is the same. We actually have 2 less units than what we originally presented at the rezoning application. So
But you had not even closed on the property when the moratorium went into place, I guess.
It's July 2021.
Actually, if you look at Q Public, it's March, it's this year. I mean, it was,
Public records show
March.
otherwise.
yeah, public records show that it went into the hands of Wham Develop, is that what it's called, Wham?
Yes, it's land development, yep.
When was the rezoning, when was the moratorium? I thought that was July.
I mean, if they're coming with us, they should know all these dates. I mean,
Jill, can you help them?
The rezoning? The date of the rezoning was March 2020.
the date of the moratorium.
It was July.
I think the moratorium was more toward like December.
You guys closed, and then they changed the whole.
It was more toward the end of the year.
December.
December 3.
Correct. Yeah,
So
and
the
then it was,
moratorium had expired and they bought the property.
Yeah,
because in between the
but you,
moratorium and
so it was prior to that the moratorium was in place. Did you guys have any
We
indication?
closed prior to the moratorium coming into place.
The current moratorium.
Yeah, and it's changed, we've actually changed the zoning, of course, on that to 35 feet. So let me ask you a question. You say you want to respect the community has spoken, we don't want 60-foot buildings. Is there any way you can work with us in saying, can we do 35 feet buildings? Is there any problem with that? I mean, because you want to be liked in the community, don't you?
You always
I
do,
mean-
but
I
not at the, I think anybody that would respect the idea that you absolutely want to be liked, but you would never just give up the rights that you actually have under the law for the sake of being liked, or at least I hope most people would
Monetary
agree
rights?
with that.
Oh,
yeah,
Monetary rights?
monetary rights?
There's no money coming to us from the city.
No, I mean, just from the sale of the building. The higher it is, the more sales you're gonna make, obviously, so.
That is correct. If on the day of rezoning, a 35 limit had been in place, this is a completely different story.
so wait a minute, you said you did know about the moratorium, that's what you said a minute ago. You knew about the moratorium, but you said you had communication with the city, with Mr. Stewart and with the mayor. Then if you knew that moratorium was, what was that communication? What did they tell
The
you?
moratorium was after we closed on the property, I think 2 or 3 months after.
Not me.
So the question that went out from my client, before I got involved, the correspondence that I've seen are concerns that there's this brand new moratorium. Which, at that point, nobody had any concerns, and then they started hearing rumors.
Who did you say don't have concerns? You said nobody. Who's nobody?
My clients.
Okay, so
Originally, there were no
you-
concerns because Georgia law is clear. Well, then, through the rumor mill, we started hearing more and more that this moratorium was going to be used for the sole purpose of railroading this project, and that was when we had the
What?
communication.
Wait a minute.
excuse me. That was after the
He has
hotel
the
was
floor, he has the floor,
Hey,
so
yeah.
can we find down in the audience? Thank you, Ricky.